325 has become so normalized where it's not even seen as being impressive. When I hit it for the first time, I wasn't even hyped. I was just.
So you're desperately trying to increase your bench press, but you're not exactly sure how. Or maybe you just want some shortcuts on how to speed up your progress and be able to bench more than everyone at your gym. Well, look no further, because I was actually in your position as well. Just 5 weeks ago, I actually couldn't even bench 225. I literally failed it, and I was only able to do 215. A few days ago, I benched 255, which is a 40-pound increase in just 41 days, which is about 5.5 weeks. But don't worry, even if you're at a lower starting point, this advice has worked for me throughout my entire gym career as long as I've been benching. Even when I was only able to bench like 140, trying to move up to 150, this advice still worked, so be sure to pay attention. I went from being only able to do like 140 pounds all the way till now where I'm benching over 1.7 times my body weight. So first off, warming up. This is very important. If you've never gotten injured before, you may be like, ah, man, I don't really need to. It's not that big of a deal. But just wait. If you get a shoulder injury, it's gonna take you out for weeks and you're not gonna be able to max out at all. So make sure you're prioritizing warming up. I always like to start off with some arm circles. I do them really wide and then also really narrow, both directions. Do that for a couple minutes and that really gets me warm to start off. I also like to do these 90-degree arm rotations to warm up my rotator cuff. I've noticed that they really help. I like to use the little 5-pound plates, but you can also use 5-pound dumbbells. I've used both and they both work great. I will say though, when you're doing that horizontal movement, be sure to use a cable for that. I always used to use dumbbells, but actually you have gravity working against you, so make sure you're using the cables. Now it's time to hop on the bench. I hope that you already know this, but you should not start off with your max or even close to it. You need to start off with the bar first. Even when I'm benching 255 now, I always start off with the bar first. I do the bar for a ton of reps, like at least 20. Then I move up to 135, then 185, then 205. You see where I'm going with this? I pyramid up and I do those big jumps at the beginning and then I get smaller and smaller with the jumps as I get closer to my max. This is the pyramid strategy and you definitely are going to want to use this. Also, you should not be doing a whole lot of reps as you get to that high weight close to your max, because then you're just going to tire yourself out. You can do a lot of reps at the beginning, but not at the end. You just want to do like 1, maybe 2 as you're getting close to your max. And I know this is a warm-up, but you really do want to focus on your form here and feeling powerful and channeling all your energy and going through all the movements just like you would if you were maxing out. Now, what are the rep and set schemes that I like to use to be able to increase my 1 rep max? I like to keep these around 4 to 6 sets and then 4 to 6 reps for each set. And then I use anywhere from 75 to 85% of my 1 rep max at the time. So I think recently what I've been using, I either use like 205 or 215, and then I can do like a perfect 4x4, 5x5, 6x6, and it doesn't have to be the same number for both. You can kind of move them around. I like to write these out on a notepad and have a little plan for me for the next few weeks. If, however, you notice that it's starting to get a little too easy, obviously you're going to want to increase one thing, progressive overload. Hope you know that. It's increasing either your sets, your reps, or the weight that you're using. Also guys, always try to use a spotter whenever you're benching. I didn't have one in the video just because I'm doing examples, and it wasn't a whole lot of weight for me either. But if you are trying to max out, and even if you're not maxing out, but it's just a normal chest day, you want to really have a spotter, because then you can actually push yourself on those sets to failure, because you're not going to want to fail with no spotter. Now let's talk about form. This can really change everything and completely revolutionize your bench press, add a ton of pounds onto your max. To start off, you're going to want to slide in so that your eyes are directly below the bar. Then pick how wide your grip should be. I actually like to do this more narrow than you may think, but really it's going to take trial and error, seeing what works for you, what feels good, and what doesn't. Don't go too wide because you could get injured, and if you go too narrow, you're actually going to lose some of your strength. So get that sweet spot, and that's going to help with how much weight you can do by a lot. Then you're going to want to drop your shoulders down and back like I did in this video. When you do this, you can feel yourself really creating a lot of tension and being able to spring the weight back up. Next up, you're going to want to arch your back and plant your feet really well. I actually tucked in my shirt so that you can see how much I'm arching my back. If you're not arching your back and your back is just flat on the bench, you're missing out on a ton of possible pounds that you could be doing. Now that your form is all locked in, you're going to want to lift your butt up, but only when you're unracking the weight. do not lift your butt up when you're pushing the weight back up. It's kind of a gray area, but in actual like powerlifting competitions, your butt cannot come up. So in my head, when I'm trying to max out, if my butt comes up a lot, I'm gonna be like, I don't really count that, because I know deep down it doesn't really count. So just make sure you keep it down the whole time. Leg drive helps with this. Leg drive is when you're pushing with your legs, but you should not be pushing like upwards to the sky. You should actually be pushing in the direction where your spotter would be standing, like towards your head. This is also a huge thing. If you're not doing this, you're missing out on like at least 10 pounds to your max. And just for reference, sometimes I'm using so much leg drive that my like hamstrings and my butt even start to cramp when I'm doing a 1 rep max. And then right before you take the weight down, do a sharp, deep breath in. This is going to create a lot of tension as well for you to spring back up. And on the way down, do not go too slow. I see a lot of guys mess this up because if you're just on the decline way too slow, you're losing a ton of strength and you're just burning through your strength. You want to take it down like at a swift pace, but not too quick to where it's going to hurt your chest if it bounces too hard or anything like that. Now let's talk about some plateaus. There's 3 different spots that you might get stuck at. If you're having trouble getting stuck at the bottom where it either doesn't come off your chest at all or maybe just a little bit, you need to be focusing on pause reps. Pause reps are huge, and for anyone that does them, they always report that they notice a huge increase in their strength right after they start doing them. I usually do these at the end of a workout. Same thing with all these different 3 plateaus. I always do them after my initial bench session. Pause reps obviously use a little bit lighter weight and keep it there for like 2 to 3 seconds, and that really removes any bounce or momentum that you may have and make sure that your chest is doing all the work. If you're getting stuck in the middle, your triceps are the problem. This is where you're not at lockout yet, but you're not at the bottom either. You can get it kind of up there and you think you got it, and then it starts to come back down. You should always be hitting your triceps. There's a lot of guys that they just are focusing on benching and doing their chest, and they don't realize that their triceps play such a huge role. For these, I like to do the single dumbbell skull crushers sitting down just over your head. I also do tricep kickbacks and then just standard tricep pushdowns with the bar. These things really help, and if I'm getting stuck in the middle, I start doing these and it instantly solves it. If you're getting stuck at the top, right before you lock out, you think you got it, and then it just starts to come down, or maybe your arms aren't all the way straight when you re-rack it and your spotter has to grab it a little bit. You need to be trying out static holds. This is where you put on a lot of weight, your max, maybe even slightly over if you have a spotter, unrack the weight, and just keep your arms fully extended. Don't even go down at all. And just hold it there for a few seconds and then put it back. And this is also going to train your brain to be able to handle the weight a little bit better and know how it's going to feel. Now let's talk about after you bench. After you bench, your chest is probably getting pretty tired, but I still like to do 2 more things for my chest. First up, I do dumbbell incline bench press. If I go a little bit lighter on flat bench with the bar, I like to do a lot heavier on the dumbbell incline. And then vice versa. If I did a heavy day with bench, I'm gonna go a little lighter on the incline dumbbell and do a little bit more hypertrophy work. After that, I move to cable flies. I usually try to do these at 2 different heights and then just pump out some cable flies. I do a higher rep scheme for this, like 4x12, sometimes even 4x15, but usually my chest is getting pretty fried by this point. Quick disclaimer, I was in a calorie surplus, obviously. To be able to add this much weight on your bench, I was gaining about 1.5 pounds a week. I was rebounding from being super lean to trying to gain a ton of muscle and bulk up quick. If you're trying to increase your bench, I do highly recommend that you do a calorie surplus, especially if you can afford it. If you're already kind of lean, you should be bulking. Not only is it going to increase your strength a ton, but it's also going to help you recover quicker and avoid injury because your body has those extra calories to use to repairing your muscle. This is also going to allow you to be able to bench more often throughout the week. 3, sometimes even 4 times. I don't really recommend going that much. I like to do around 3 chest days a week. So I hope this video was useful to you guys. If you are interested in something a little bit more personalized exactly for you and working with me one-on-one to increase your bench or whatever other goal that you have, whether it's just to get bigger in the gym, more strength, get shredded, whatever it is, there's a Calendly link in the description. If you're interested, you can click that. That'll just take you to a quick 15-30 minute call that we can do. You can tell me your goals, what you've been struggling with, and I can tell you how to get over those struggles to achieve any goal that you have. I specifically work with skinny guys that are trying to get bigger and more muscular because that's where I came from. I used to be so tiny. I was always the skinniest kid in school, and I was able to become super muscular, completely change my physique and my mindset. So if that's you, if you're interested, click that link. But either way, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Good luck.